Hi, everybody. I know it's really late. We are more than burning the midnight oil. I told you, we have no time to sleep. We have no time to sleep. Everything is happening. So much news to cover here uh, and document it, right? Every time I come on, I'm documenting it. Okay, wait a minute. Let me turn this down here. Yeah, so every time I'm coming on, I'm documenting, and we're at day 1,811 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, and his life was taken from him. And we have July 18th, 2025 right now. Yeah, so we're coming on the 5 years since this has happened. And, it, you know, we've had so many people. Why is this taking so long? Why have you had to investigate yourself? Um, you know, uh, why aren't there any arrests? And I think there are arrests going on. And because you have El Mayo Zapata, you have El Chapo's son. This is a big deal. You have a lot of people being arrested right now, and I can tell you Richard's case. When you connect the dots, it would be very, very interesting to know what the media is suppressing, right? What the media is suppressing or bearing underneath, so that it's really hard to know all the truth that is happening. What we do know is that there is a real uh, it's like the same old playbook against President Trump, right? I mean, they're dragging out really stupid stuff, trying to get, I guess, what do they think that, we've read so much, um, I don't know, what are those magazines called that when you go and check out, um, I never really buy them, so I don't know what they're called, but they're just full of gossip magazines and stuff like that, and they have the most ludicrous kind of, well, maybe some of them could be more accurate than what our mainstream media is. Our mainstream media has just descended into such absurdity and fake stories, and we know that with Bob Moore. He's absolutely political. He is there to be in a political attack dog, right? And it doesn't matter which side you're on. It matters if you're on the side of pedophiles, if you're on the side of um, the criminal trafficking uh, money making network, illegal making network that produce a, a lot of killing, a lot of deaths. And so, this is Bob Moore. He targeted Richard with Manny Chavira's RNA Chavira Auto Group LLC, right? They absolutely are family. They're absolutely family, and um, and they absolutely trafficked Richard's vehicle. And this is, as early on in 2019, and then going on after his death in 2020 and onward and onward. They've absolutely targeted Richard before and after his death. And so, uh, they are the ones that are the problem. They are the ones that are the problem. And so when you have the media trying to do some kind of absurd uh, press release, like what we've had today with President Trump, you know that they're the ones, it's the media that's the problem. They're the ones that are the criminal. They're the ones trying to hide their criminal activities. And they're just trying to discredit the chief magistrate, the chief law enforcer, which is the President of the United States. When all of this just incredible, terrible things were happening in the Biden, you know, they just handled it, um, you know, with silence, right? With silence, and they protected the media, absolutely protected President Biden because he was their ticket to operate their criminal trafficking network with impunity, with absolutely impunity. And that's all kind of coming out, and President Trump is absolutely a threat to them. And how do I know this? And am I, people might say, "Oh, you're just a MAGA, you're just a MAGA, you're just a Republican, you're just blindly supporting," and they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. Um, and am I a MAGA? Yeah, I'm a MAGA. Am I a supporter? Yes, I'm a supporter. Have I been a supporter of President Trump all along? Do I normally vote Republican? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But is it blindly? No way, no way at all. Um, I do my homework. Our family, we do our homework. We absolutely downloaded the financials, Trump's financials at the very, very beginning of all of this. Um, and we and I cannot tell you how many videos of interviews that I have watched, old videos of the Trump family before I even decided to vote for them, to support them. And of course, uh, y- y- I think that our 5 year investigation into our son's murder is um, is evidence that we do our research. We absolutely do our research and we look into things, and we don't believe what we're told. Um, what the military was telling us was absurd. What the CID was telling us was absurd. What the FBI was telling us was absurd. What the Congress, well, what's his name? Timothy, or I even don't even deal with him because he's a Republican, but he's so bad. He needs to be voted out really quick. If I have anything to say about it, he needs to lose his seat. Um, uh, um, oh, what is that? William Timmons. Yeah, William Timmons. He needs to lose his seat. He's just so bad, y'all. He's just a grifter. He is a total grifter, good for nothing. Good for nothing but messing with other people's wives. He's just a grifter, and he's just trouble. He's just total trouble. So no, I think that Governor Abbott is trouble, big trouble, very big trouble. So no, the blindly following is that doesn't apply to us. Are we uh, are we totally following President Trump for good reason? For good reason? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. 4 days after, well, the day that he took office, he declared uh, the Sinaloa cartel as an FTO, as an FTO. That is huge. That is really big. And that goes to, and also, um, he is uh, as best as he can, because there are so many still in there that are up to no good, right? We still have Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe in the Army that's absolutely needs to be arrested, y'all. He's so treasonous. He is he is the general for the cartels. Fort Bliss is protecting the cartels. Fort Bliss is protecting the criminal trafficking, the crimes against children. They were facilitating crimes against children. Okay, they were absolutely facilitating crimes against children. And so, does that mean that I'm against the U.S. Army? No, I'm against those that infiltrate, that put on our uniform and serve foreign and domestic enemies. To me, that's called treason. When you are mutinous, when you are in a state of war, and I really think the president should declare that we are at war with the cartels that are operated, um, are just puppets. Really, the cartels are puppets for the CCP. I really think that that needs to be addressed, and every indication is that he is fighting against that. And there is a lot of questions on how that is all done because there are bad actors, right? Just like the whole arrest of El Mayo, it stinks to high heaven. But where was that done? That was done at Santa Teresa Jetport, which is absolutely a hub of criminal activity. And so, you know, there is so many bad actors in this, and then you have to make lemonade out of the lemons, right? And President Trump has just you can just see him trying to do that and doing that every day. I mean, look at our economy. Look at June. We had a surplus for the first time since 2017. That means he's legitimizing the economy instead of letting the economy be a bunch of criminal traffickers, and El Paso having a downtown of empty buildings because its economy is all about criminal trafficking. And really, that's the economy. And then they do these contracts, right? These contracts with the military and with the school district and wherever they can get some of that government money, and then they have this um, weaponizing or monetizing um, in a very bad way, right? I'm all for making money, but when you're monetizing in a very bad way, deaths and funerals, and then adding fraud and waste and abuse to it, where you have rotting bodies piled up because you have the funeral homes taking bodies over there or being a dumping ground for the cartels. What is happening right now in Juarez, you have a dumping ground for the cartels that are in connection with the narco politicians. And so I'm going to put together all of what I'm talking about because it seems like I'm all over the place when I even listen to myself. But you have this war going on in Mexico with the cartels right now because they are not acting with impunity. They're FTOs now. They're FTOs. And so this is why there is so much chaos going on over there. And on the, uh, finding, just even finding and having to report on the dumping ground of rotting bodies, right? For the cartel narco dumping ground of rotting bodies that are absolutely connected with Purchase Funeral Homes, which operates both in Mexico and in Texas, both in Chihuahua, Mexico, and in Texas, is the big funeral home that's intertwined with other funeral homes. Um, and and you have a real problem here where they have a way of getting rid of people's the evidence, the bodies, right? Evidence of cartel um, capital offenses, capital offenses, and that is intertwined with you saw that with the Noosa brothers that are in the military, that are in the CID. Well, his badge got terminated now, but you also have that um, in the mortuary affairs and those that control mortuary affairs, the designation of dead soldiers, their labels, their transportation, um, that it's really like the chief medical examiner, right? The chief medical examiner determining the cause and manner of death, and then the transferring, signing off on the transferring of the bodies. That's Solomone Nusa, right? That's Solomone Nusa. That is Mario Raskin Ortiz. uh, what chance did Richard's remains have in being respected and honored and returned to the family when you have cartel operatives and also the Nusas, the this gang, right, in charge of everything to do with our son's remains? It is just shocking. It is absolutely criminal, and it really exposes the military and it exposes the leadership in El Paso. And now we have this case um, that just came through, and I have the few notes here about Andrew Williams, the Fort Bliss soldier, right? The day before that he was supposed to go to trial, lo and behold, the fake DA, James 2028 stamp Montoya, is making a plea deal because he can't do anything else, okay? Because everything he touches is illegitimate. And if Andrew Williams lawyer got a wind of this, um, that James Montoya is not legal, that he's absolutely not legal, y'all. He's 2028 stamp, James Montoya. And it's not just James Montoya, it's James Bonneau or whatever, Bonneau Montoya, right? Even he's a messing with the law. Even more so, he's tampering in everything, right? He's a fraud. He is a fraud, and he's a fraud here because this case of Andrew Williams, the Fort Bliss soldier, right? That goes into a bar. He's at a bar, and they get into a fight. Two groups get into a fight, right? And I think he lost the fight, and he goes to the his car and he gets his gun or a gun. Who knows about this gun because there's no trial now. Is it a military gun? Where did he get this gun? What did he legally have the gun? Was it legally registered? All of these things would be answered in a trial. But no, the day before the trial, we have a plea deal again, right? And this is a capital case because he walks back to the group and starts shooting them. And James Nicholson, 26-year-old, dies right there at the scene. And Alexa Ratana, 27-year-old, dies right there at the scene. Okay? Four others are wounded. Four others are wounded. Two are dead. And now James Bonneau Montoya, a fake DA that's not legitimate, that his oath of office does not count, right? because he did not sign the statement of officer, which is required by the Texas Constitution. Very easy to find. Very easy to find what it takes to be installed as a district attorney, and every attorney should know how to install properly. But he didn't. He didn't, and so he's using his same playbook. No trial, no death penalty charges, just like what he did and in the Patrick Crucius case and the Walmart mass shooting case, when he ran politically, saying that he was going to go for the death penalty, and he didn't do it, right? And so then we don't have the transparency to know everything that happened in that case. And this is the same thing here. And I think it's to protect Fort Bliss, because Fort Bliss is in big trouble, right? Fort Bliss is, come on. You've got them rushing, driving to Fort Bliss for safety. Like, that's where they're going to get protected. Who told them that they can go and shoot people, kill two people, and run to Fort Bliss? Well, of course, Fort Bliss is known as housing the death camp. Fort Bliss is known as covering for violent soldiers like Dallas Hart, right? Like Tavita Nusa, right? And, and many others. And they're protecting uh, the cartel. They're protecting the individuals that do the worst type of crimes against children, right? They're protecting um, Leilani Hard, right? Um, Tampering with cases, access to CID files, right? Unauthorized access to CID files. They're protecting that kind of tampering. They're protecting crime. And so, of course, these two, um, uh, that just plead out, just submit it to being killers, ran to Fort Bliss for protection. Can you believe that? And thank God that the gate guard caught them and said no, right? Um, thank God. But now they're not, what's going to happen to them? What's going to happen to them? They got plea deal. What are they going to get? Uh, a slap on the hand? Um, it, it's just it's just sickening to see the corruption, and you have two lives lost again. Two more lives lost again. Left and right, lives are being lost. There's no respect for lives. There's no respect for Corpus Christi, right? You just cash in on these bodies, right? Cash in on them, and then they get thrown in a big pile across the border. The rotting body pile there. That is connected to Maru Campos, that's connected to her party, the Pan Party, that's connected to Purchase, that's connected to Bill Hicks, that's connected to our son's case. And of course, that's connected to Mario Raskin Ortiz. And of course, um, in 2020, it was connected to Solomon and Nusa, who's the brother of Tavita Nusa, family of Leilani Hart and Dallas Hart, the prime suspects in the murder of our son. And yeah, it's um, and all the violence that goes on, the weaponizing of the UCMJ and the JAG office. I mean, protecting the JAG office is so dirty, y'all. So dirty. Oh, geez. It's Um, yeah, so when I know all of these things, and I only can tell you part of them because so much information is coming out, and you have to try to. And I'm better at putting together written information and in songs and in poems and in memes and things like that that I am in speaking this on these live streams. But we're doing the best we can as quick as we can to get you the information. But there's so much information out there that confirms, the evidence confirms that uh, there is uh, an attack going on to support, to protect the criminal trafficking billion-dollar network, and it is against President Trump. And if it wasn't against him, if he was any part of this, he would never be doing what he's been doing. He would never be strengthening ICE. He would never be doing these arrests. He would never be upsetting Scheinbaum. Scheinbaum, the Mexican president, is so upset right now. She is so afraid of this plea deal. Talk about plea deals. This plea deal going on in New York with El Chapo's son, right? With El Chapo's son. And El Mayo is there, right? El Mayo is there. And, she's very upset that the Trump administration did not include her in this plea deal negotiations or witnessing the plea deal in on the information that this cartel, uh, billion-dollar operation cartel, is telling the Trump administration. It's such big news, and we're following it. And what does it have to do with Richard's case? Uh, Well, El Mayo's attorney, his name, one of his attorneys, is Ray Velarde out of El Paso, Texas. Okay. Ray Velarde, when they were trying to frame Richard, when they were trying to trap him, Belen Rocha and Jesus Melendez, the canine cop, Dirty Carzoli, El Paso police officer, tried to trap because of Manny Chavira and Bob Moore targeting Richard, and they were trying to absolutely frame him. And in a parking lot, they, without probable cause, unlawfully arrested Richard. And because these are all working together, that included Ray Velarde, and we know that Manny Chavira is Mexican cartel. We know that all of these individuals are connected to Willie Moya or Arturo Alba. That this is absolutely an alliance with the Mexican cartel, and they targeted Richard, and they assigned their best. They assigned the billionaire. It's like one of President Trump's, or let's say Musk, right? Elon Musk's lawyers. We'll send Elon Musk's lawyers to control the narrative around this soldier, this whistleblower soldier that is the whistleblower for President Trump. Because he was whistleblowing on the criminal trafficking, what President Trump was trying to stop. And so, they're going to assign uh, a billionaire's El Mayo's lawyer to Richard to what? To control the narrative, to control the case, to control Richard, right? And they were unsuccessful. Can you imagine? I mean, what Richard went through, he is absolutely a hero, y'all. He absolutely needs to have a statue. He needs to he needs to have buildings named after him. He needs to have highways named after him. What he went through and came out stellar, stellar. They tried to frame Richard. He wouldn't even go into the party, right? He wouldn't even go into the party. He wouldn't even fall for their um, uh, their advances, right? For any of the criminal trafficking, for any of the substances, for not even nothing, nothing. I mean, at this point, he just, I mean, here he was totally stellar. And thank you, God, for the video of that. Um, and you know who you are that has loyalty to God to provide the video of that whole incident. That was just um, I will treasure it forever because Richard's just such a hero. He's just so beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And they tried everything and sent their best lawyer, right, to try to frame Richard, to discredit him as a whistleblower, to discredit him as a witness. And that's the same thing what they're doing to Trump. They're trying to put out these frame jobs, they're trying to divert the attention, but they're also trying to discredit the president of the United States, to make him, lose support because the support is what gives him his mandate to secure the border, to deport illegal immigrants, illegal migrants in this country, out of this country, to assert the law and have support behind it. The law is doesn't mean anything unless you have the power to assert it and it to be followed. And that requires people that want the law to be asserted, right? And that means, um, that sometimes things don't go your way, but you have to follow the law. And so Richard, uh, he even with them and knowing, and he absolutely knew because he told me it's so bad, and he absolutely, I know my son, he absolutely knew at the time he was being framed. He knew what Boleyn was. He told her who she was, and he begged her not to be who she was. He tried to convince her to be a different type of person. Um, so he even had mercy and grace, and he's just such a hero, right? He's just all the videos that we have. Um, he just he made the world a better place, and he is absolutely he'll go down in history. Yes, for making the world a better place. And so, I know that Richard shines so bright that sometimes we can't see the message that they sent Ray Velarde, El Mayo's lawyer, to try to clean up or discredit um, a whistleblower soldier, a 20-year-old, a 20-year-old whistleblower soldier. He was he was there, you know, uh, they were probably shocked. Oh my gosh, we have a soldier here that actually has honor, that actually has a moral foundation, that absolutely will stick to what he knows is right. They didn't know what to do with that. I'm just wondering if they tried to bribe him or whatever, and he's just like, go to the moon or go down to hell, go to hell, you know? Um, he knew they were already in hell because of the way they live. They're already in hell. So, it's just an amazing message here that connects everything together. Um, that shows you what a threat that President Trump is to them, right? Because we're talking about $1 billion network, criminal trafficking network, illegal, right? That really runs El Paso because you have beautiful buildings downtown. You have a beautiful downtown, and they're empty. They're empty because there's no real economy. The economy is the foundation of it is this criminal trafficking, and of course the military, and and the military we know under Biden before that, because we saw it with General Kelly that he was absolutely a Trojan horse. That General Kelly was absolutely treasonous. We know that Mealy was treasonous. We know that McConville's treasonous. We know, and I'm not just putting that out there lightly. You've got hard evidence that they are during the time of war, because we've been in war ongoing for years and years and years. During the time of war, that they are supporting and um, allying, aiding and abetting uh, foreign and domestic enemies of this country. And clearly, so is Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, so is Lieutenant General Donna Martin. Absolutely, they're just so up to no good. So we know that during the first administration of President Trump, there was a mutiny going on. There was absolute mutiny going on. We saw it. And they're just so used to using our military for their piggy bank, for their money machine, right? With their fake or overpriced contracts and an absolute abuse of the whole system. They're just using it as their ATM machine. That's what they were doing. And servicing foreign and domestic enemies. I mean, you had John Kelly, it's confirmed that he was with Mauro Campos, the Chihuahua governor, um, and now you have the same thing going on with Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott, the governor of Texas is one of the most powerful positions in the world. It is so powerful. And he is illegally making security and intelligence agreements with the Chihuahua governor, Mauro Campos, who has a direct association with a humanitarian crisis of a hundreds of bodies being at this narco uh, rotting body dump yard for the cartel. And she has total direct connection to that. And so does Purchase to El Paso, where they handle military remains. And who is the lawyer for Purchase? Bill Hicks, who was appointed by Governor Abbott. I- So this $1 billion network is huge, from El Mayo to Governor Abbott to Bill Hicks to Mauro Campos to into the military to General Kelly to Garrett. I didn't even say Michael Garrett. He's so dirty too. But Michael Garrett is so connected to that area. Okay, four-star general. He needs to take off those beautiful stars. He doesn't deserve them. Get the heck out of our uniform. Go if you want to serve a foreign country, go to that country. Go serve them. But this kind of treason is uh, we just can't tolerate it anymore. And who is their target? Who is their adversary? It's President Trump. And because of that, because we had a real patriot president, and I'm not just saying that, I'm saying the evidence confirms that because we had a patriotic president. I mean, look, he just had a patriotic, um, um, what do you call that? Parade, right? A patriotic parade. Everybody was screaming against it that was on the left side. Why? Because they knew that a lot of people would watch it, and that was an audit. That was an audit. Anytime there's a parade, especially a military parade, it's an audit. And it was the opportunity for the taxpayers who pay for our military to audit our military with their own eyes, see what they're up to, see what they're doing, see what they're training for, see the equipment. Where's the equipment? Because the equipment we know under Mealy was absolutely being left behind. And if you believe it was left behind without uh, many coming back with padded pockets, then you're a fool. Then you're a fool. They didn't just leave behind billions and billions of dollars of equipment. No. And that's what's been going on at Fort Bliss. And now we have here, oh, we don't have enough ammunition. What do you mean we don't have enough ammunition? We have so much ammunition. Oh, well, truckloads of it have been caught going over to Mexico being, trafficked, smuggled. And there's plenty of evidence in the media, in cases where soldiers and others have been caught smuggling our military equipment and supplies and whatnot. So, uh, yeah, that this is a real battle going on. Do I want to call it a war? Um, with mutiny involved? Because absolutely, they're putting out these false stories. We'll see. We'll see what Pete Hegseth, how he can. There needs to be a lot of people taken out of uh, those uniforms, take them, take their ranks off of them. They do not deserve them. There's so much fraud when it comes to disability benefits, so much fraud when it comes to the death benefits. There's so much fraud going on in the military. And Pete Hegseth has his work to do, and they have to maintain. They can't be like me. They have to maintain because they have a much, much bigger following, right? A much bigger following, and they have to maintain the strength of the United States, rightfully so. And I'm here to tell you that, uh, the things going on against President Trump, there is other reasons behind it than what they say. They are absolutely targeting him, and they're trying to. um, uh, redirect your eyes from what's going on down in El Paso at the border and in other places too, and in other places, um, but and also with the deporting of illegals, trying to deflect and stop it because uh, a lot of these states allow these illegals to vote, and so that was skewing our whole election. Um, and they whoever benefited from that skewing are not too happy right now. And so you're going to see, and I think the American people know it because they elected President Trump again. So they absolutely, even with all of the attacks at President Trump and the absurd things they've done, um, yeah, it's you know them by their fruit. When was the last time we had a surplus? When was the last time that we didn't want other countries taking advantage of us, right? We've had so many countries taking advantage of us and just chipping away at our country. And so I think that this is a real good time to show your patriotism, show your support for the office of the presidency, to absolutely understand that the media are not our friends, that they lied to us over and over and over again, and that Montoya, look at Montoya, he is illegal, things he might say he's a DA, but he's not the DA. And you can see that in his actions. No trial, no death penalty. Let's just let killers plead out and avoid any transparency, avoid any trials, and bury the truth. And we'll save the failed leadership in the military. Um, at Fort Bliss. I mean, what is his name? Taylor, Curtis Taylor, or whatever. Uh, he needs to be taken out of his uniform. Um, it's just a disgust to see this failed leadership that gives a false security to soldiers, and maybe it's not a false security. It seems that they're telling their soldiers, you can be criminals and we've got your back. You can wreak havoc on El Paso. You can take life in El Paso and you can come back to us. I mean, for those soldiers to think that, to rush back to Fort Bliss for security, um, that tells you something. That tells you something. It tells you something that is very, very wrong on Fort Bliss, something we have been telling you day in and day out for 5 years. It's going to be 5 years. And, we've done absolutely miraculous things because we're very close, very, very close. We're hearing, of course, we're coming on. It's 2 o'clock a.m. No time to sleep because of everything that's going on behind the scenes. There's no time to sleep when I guess this is like a war, a war for the justice system, a war for the law enforcement system, a war for our military, right? A war for our country. But I would say first and foremost, it's the war for our justice system because our justice system clearly, with all the evidence, was being weaponized. Weaponized first and foremost against President Trump, and then um, the system absolutely targeted Richard because he was a witness, but not just a witness, a whistleblower, which has more weight because he was a U.S. Army soldier in a U.S. Army uniform, and and that has more weight, and the law has um, holds those that did him harm more accountable. Um, and he was President Trump's whistleblower in at Fort Bliss. Absolutely, he was in communication with Washington D.C. He was in communication with FBI Houston. He was in absolutely put in reports, multiple ones to the Child Protective Services. The IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. Um, the CID absolutely knew because Richard wanted to be a CID agent. He was in communication with them. He had put in his request for direction, like I'm interested in becoming a CID agent. Tell me what to do, right? I need a mentor. I need a mentor. Um, so they absolutely knew his chain of command. Well, you have Leilani Hart, Richard's platoon leader's mother. So Richard's platoon leader is Dallas Wayne Hart, and she confessed um, even after writing writing these reports, right, about the problem with so many missing soldiers. And I put up this report on January 9th, 2021. She's implicating her own son in Richard's disappearance and murder because she's saying that Richard was a code red. It was absolutely his chain of command, and his chain of command is her son. Is her son. And when you write papers like that and you know things um, that only someone that's working on the case. So of course, her very intimate cousin. She was very intimate with her cousin, Tavita Nusa, is leaking information to her, giving her access to files, and they were tampering with those files. And that was reported by another whistleblower, Judge Roger Rodriguez, on January 18th, 2022. We received a phone call by him where he alerted us that he had become a whistleblower in his official capacity as a judge in our son's case, identifying the prime suspects and absolutely saying that our son's case was being tampered with and that Leilani Hart was being given access to files, tampering with files by her family member, Tavita Nusa, whose brother is the one handling remains of soldiers in the army. Um, yeah, and her, yeah, it's all there. It's all there. And I haven't even gone into Nadal Baim yet and their connection with the Hearts. So um, there's absolutely, uh, I'm telling you this because you see these attacks on the higher level, right, with President Trump. And I'm thinking with Ray Velarde, and why I'm bringing him up, um, I'm thinking that Richard's at that level. I think that Richard is at that level. It's just so big, and that's why how they have such a hard time releasing the information for for Epstein, right? For Jeffrey Epstein. They don't want to release any information, and even the video now confirmed to be tampered with, absolutely confirmed to be tampered with. And then the pipeline from Juarez, Mexico, up through El Paso, through Fort Bliss through White Sands Missile Range, just about bordering on his property there, Zorro Ranch. I mean, it really is like a border. They border each other. Okay, they might not like directly physically border each other, but there's just it's so because of the airspace. Let's say through the airspace, the military airspace protected Zorro Ranch, Jeffrey Epstein's ranch. That was absolutely a pipeline connected. It was all connected up to his ranch. And so I would say that Richard's case is right there up there. And that's why you don't see, it being mentioned. It's like the untouchable, right? They can't say Richard's name. They can say Vanessa Guillen's name before they can say Richard Halliday's name. It is just really so high up there and implicating. I mean, if they're setting Ray Velarde, um, Jaime Esparza signed the paper too. Jaime Esparza, um, you know, uh, he absolutely, if he's going to sign the paper, he absolutely knows who Richard Halliday is. And of course, with everything that is so tied to the Walmart mass shooting, the same cover up, right, with the Walmart mass shooting as with Richard's case. And I did release those. I put the video up twice. You have to watch it twice, right? The video that I put up today about the initial response in the Walmart mass shooting, where Alexander Hoffman's body is laying there at the entrance. And, you look around, you hear, when you go back and you listen to Ernest Christopher Grant, because he was kind of the spokesperson, right? The media sweetheart of the Walmart mass shooting. When you go and read all of his accounts, right? And we know that he was lying, right? We know that he was lying, but he is listing, what happened inside there, throwing bottles, the chaos, everything. But then you watch the actual video, that's not what you see at all. So you know that since the Walmart mass shooting crime scene wasn't secured for more than 48 hours, you're talking 2 days, 2 days. And I'm going to break some news right now. It's 2:15 a.m. Whoever watches this all the way through will know this, and maybe I'll post it up. But even we know Jaime Esparza walked the scene, right? And he took pictures. We know that. We've been even given the information that Ted Cruz came down and walked the scene before it was secured. So you have a senator walking the crime scene of the Walmart mass shooting before it was secured. And, that is jaw dropping. That is jaw dropping. What the heck? What's going on? They're not securing the crime scene of a mass shooting. They're saying that 23 people were killed and dozens injured. And then you watch that video and you're like, what? This was a hit job. This was an absolute hit job of Alexander Hoffman. Who is Alexander Hoffman really? Who was he really? And I would even say, um, Miss Rote, right? Miss Rote, um, who is she? Because that was a hit job in the parking lot. And, so I put out a lot of that information today. And I hope that people, um, especially El Pasoans, but for that to be, because we were questioned, why do we know that this was staged, um, Were people really hurt? Yes. Was it staged? Well, just look at the video. I don't have to tell you it was staged. The evidence is there. Look at what they've told you in the past, what the media tried to uh, fabricate, and then look at the video. And then, see for yourself. What do you see? Eh, and then to know that they had 48 hours, 2 days before they even secured the scene, and you had police cars there, and they weren't even securing anybody. They weren't even corralling people to say, "Look, you need to stay here, and we need to get your statements." And they didn't even have a triage going. Where's the triage? They didn't even, you know, it, the video is so revealing of what really happened. And it then leads to so many questions. And of course, we've had the other people come in and try to tell us, like a dispatcher that gave us information. We had Michael Cordero give us information, corroborate the information. Um, and then you have the whole Mayella family that totally part of this Walmart mass shooting case. Um, yeah, how do we know? Because the evidence shows that what they were telling us, the narrative is different from reality. And that they didn't want a trial because all of that would have come out. And, who were the other shooters? Because that is the only explanation for the evidence. The timeline doesn't work any other way. So, Patrick Crucius turned himself in twice. He was driving in his car making a U-turn. And when you try to put everything together, the map and um, the 23 victims and the multiple, you got dozens of injured, and then you have the video, nothing makes sense. And the narrative is all wrong. So, and it was wrong in Richard's case. And that means that the justice system, is something's wrong with it, clearly. So, thank you so much, everyone, for staying on so late. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Thank you so